How's it going, guys? It's Mr. Lone Wolf, and today I'm going to go and rescue the Forester. It's a mission called Abandoned Titan, and yeah, it's not too far away from where the garage is, to be honest. It can be a little awkward to get there because there's like a roadblock, but as you can see, it's pretty much straight south of the garage. There's like a little circle patch of boggy mud and that, and yeah, it's parked there, and right next to it is the mission. Already sent in the Loaf because he's goddamn professional, so already got the mission kind of up and selected. It's about 651 repair points, and then fuel wise I can't quite see because it shrinks the screen, but you're talking like 300 odd fuel you need, so yeah, that's why I equipped I've got a Zik 605R. I've also put a van repair body on it. I can't remember if we could have that before this update or not. I kind of feel like we couldn't, but I don't know. Yeah, for the route, I could have gone the longer way round, but I'm going to kind of cut over where there's no bridge, but I wanted to chance it. There's a roadblock, like a big pile of rocks, a bit like what I got stuck on the exploration video, but then once I get past that, just kind of go down the road, there's a gap that's enough kind of through the trees, and then yeah, you get into that little inner circle in the bog, and that's it. There's my goddamn horse. Yeah, that's the Forester thing. Already got about 8 loafs on this map. I don't know how I manage it so quickly. Only downloaded the game last night, and there's already loafs all over the goddamn place. So yeah, that's why I'm running this setup. I could, well, I don't need to. There's that fuel trailer there, but like I said, you need about 300 fuel, and between these loafs, they've got 200 fuel in each, like between their roof rack and the fuel tank. So there's 400. They've also got 600 repair points between them, and then I've got the roof rack on the Zik. So to be honest, I probably didn't need the actual van repair body. You could take a sideboard or something if you just wanted to. Yeah, at least that's room for a couple of cargo. You might be able to complete a mission or something. This is the route I wanted to go. As you can see to the right, the bridge is out. I'm not 100% sure yet if we'll have the option to build that bridge back. On this side, it's kind of where you'd like to go, the V. That's what I said. Yeah, there's like all rocks and everything in the way. Obviously, if I drive just to the left of them, it'll be pretty tippy. But the Zix is pretty good at climbing. Stick it like low range, high low. This is one thing I like with a Loaf. See how there, just for example, it's one of like a million reasons to get yourself a Loaf. How he was like rubbing against the tree. So instead of the tree catching on my like the van repair body or whatever, just something on the side of the Zix, the Loaf's leaning over more and he's already nudging on the tree. So, and the Loaf's nice and flush down either side, so he doesn't catch on anything. So yeah, when you get situations like that where I'm leaning on trees, every time I've got a Loaf packed on the roof, I thank my lucky Loafs that I did. Yeah, so this is like a little warehouse section. As I said, that little shortcut there just kind of saved me going the longer way, and there's nothing really wrong with the longer way. It's a little bit like snow and boggy mud and all the rest of it, so I'd argue this way is definitely quicker. And then you get to like this point, which is a crossroad. The reason I turned late is I was looking like right behind my truck now if I could cut through the sort of forest there, but I'd still pop out like the wrong side of the roadblock, like the landslide that's blocking the way. So yeah, I was a little bit distracted there. But yeah, this is the crossroads. Normally, if you drove the long way, I would have drove straight, like going back the opposite way, kind of like instead of going right on the crossroads, I would have came from straight over. That's what she said. Again, not looking where I'm going. It went flying off into the ditch. In my defence, I'm rarely paying attention to where I'm going, to be honest. I just kind of eyeball the distance, the horizon, aim it, and then look, I'm just swinging the camera around all over the place, trying to have a good look, especially with a new map. So far though, still got a like overall good feeling about the map. It's definitely a much bigger map than the ones we got in Phase 5. Just little things like this road I've drove along now, if you look at it on the map, it's not a particularly massive section of the map I've covered already, whereas on Phase 5, like, I would have got probably from the top end to the bottom end of the map by now. So, yeah, all things considered, it's not feeling too trollish to the point where it annoys you that it's a massive map either, so it's one of them where I'll have to see long term. I can't really know yet until I keep getting caught out on the same bits or whatever. I'll be pretty keen on unblocking these landslides. Actually, I've had quite a bit of fun just trying to get over them. It's like now, well, you'll see how this ends. It's probably pretty unsurprising, but I like messing around like this. I could easily just deploy a loaf immediately, and what I would do that if this was already like a section on an older map. But yeah, just for the sakes of also making the video, I want to kind of see how easy it is to climb over these landslides. Long story short, it's clearly not that easy. It's more that I've drove over some landslides. There was one on Phase 5 on Antonovsky, and even though it was a landslide or whatever, a rock slide thing, it was in the way, I drove over it quite easily. Like, it felt like it was almost made that you could drive over it. This one just, again, feels like the hitboxes aren't exactly where the rocks are, so it's just awkward to climb over it. So at this point, I didn't think it'd help, but I disconnected, unpacked the loafs. That one started rolling off because it's really steep, but he's a goddamn professional, so he knows what he's doing. He rolled back to his wheels. Yeah, I was trying to put the handbrake on and stop now on the rocks, but this hill was so steep, this side, which isn't helping with the climbing, that it wouldn't sit me there. Every time I was trying to switch to another vehicle or whatever, it was just making me roll backwards. So, had an idea, stuck a winch on one of my loafs, used him as a little wedge. I also was able to use him, like, pressing the winch button and that. It was also giving me a little loaf boost. So, I was able to perch myself on the rock, like, yeah, a little bit further up there. Again, that's what she said. And this was kind of my plan all along, a bit like what I did in yesterday's video with the exploration video. Is unpack me loaf, send in the goddamn professional, Jerry Rafferty time. It's Baker Street, and yeah, it's going in. Flung a winch out because he's got more length than the trucks. What can we say? He's a horse of a vehicle for a reason, so he's able to reach that just tree that's laying dead on the other side. So yeah, as usual, Loaf gets over. I mean, was there any doubt really? And then it's like, I really wish they'd change this back to the old way. It's when you stick a winch to something, and like I said, you used to be able to, like, the vehicle would drive as well, and you could pull the winch in, but now it just only lets you do one or the other. So I jumped back in the Zix, stuck a winch to the Loaf, as usual. He's goddamn professional, so it's fighting it a little bit, but again, it's more the, like, the hitboxes don't line up, so it's, yeah, a little bit more jagged and rough and like sharp to bump over than it sort of looks really. And I think it's safe to say at this point I've officially got the Zix to the top. There's not really an issue now. I should even from here, I believe, be able to reach that tree on the other side. But at this point I'm just kind of pulling on the Loaf more down than going forward, so I wanted to move the Loaf out of the way. And then just to, I don't know, I can't help myself, I had to try it, stuck a winch to it, and again I just came to the same conclusion very quickly as I earlier. If I drive forward, the Zix isn't, sorry, if I'm driving forward I'm not pulling on the winch, which just, I don't know, it's better when you can, but when I'm pulling on the winch, the Zix gives up driving, so you kind of lose all that momentum and effort from the Zix. So yeah, and then when I disconnected the winch, the physics thing didn't seem to lock in. Considering like the Loaf that rolled off my van repair body, that locked in place as a goddamn professional should when he did one full roll. But yeah, I was pretty far away from that Zix and it was still rolling backwards, so that kind of messed it up a bit. So I was like, sod it, I'll just abort the attempt kind of thing and wedge the Loaf back in place, get back in the Zix and just do it that way. Because again, from the Zix, if I stick a winch to the Loaf, at least I can drive with my power, and if I'm hoovering in the Loaf, like with a winch, because I've got it kind of wedged against the rocks, I can, yeah, it'll still let me apply power and try and pull the winch in. It'll kill the power of the Loaf, which, I mean, let's be honest, the power of the Loaf is immense, magnificent, never ending by the looks of it. I mean, here we go again, it's not just like, we're not going for little fish. The Loaf, he's going for the big ones. Like, it's twice, 3 times, 4 times. I've been up to all sorts tonight with a Loaf. That's why, even doing this video, I've been pushing it a bit late, and all things considered, I've not really done a whole lot on video. Just done a hell of a lot flying around with Loafs and messing around tonight. But it's been good. It's worth it. It's been emotional. Yeah, so anyway, just kept tugging on it, as you do, one-handed rally special, and we got over there in the end. Sadly, it's another just characteristic with the winch that I think it always used to be like this, but I'd say it's been more prominent since I've made the winches not as strong. But when you winch really close to something, like with two vehicles, when there's only a couple of foot of winch left, it gets even weaker. I'm pretty certain it's always done that. But yeah, since they seem to have nerfed the winches, it kind of makes it even more painfully obvious when it happens. And yeah, like I said, at that point, at the top of the rocks, I was able to reach to that tree branch anyway. I could have grabbed the loaf and just done it that way, but to be honest, I flung out a winch and it grabbed the tree, so it is what it is. This loaf, see, he's goddamn professional. Rising from the dead. Oh yeah, in the meantime, I cut some bits out just to make the video shorter, but when I rolled back in the Zix, I knocked the loaf over. It's pretty inconsiderate of me, but like I said, he knows what he's doing. He knows what he's up to. He's got damn horse of a vehicle, so he rescued himself. If you want something doing, you got to do it yourself. And then yeah, stick a winch on him, bring him over with me. Because again, at this point, I'm still planning on rescuing the forester. That honestly, I know I do get a little bit sidetracked. Well, sidetracked. I get put back on track with a goddamn horse. Yeah, I am planning on rescuing and fixing and refueling the forester thing, so hence the little pack of loafs with me. Plenty of goodies with them. To be fair, I could fix the forester with everything on the Zix easily, probably twice over, but it's fuel and that I could do with. I don't think I've got enough. Now I've nailed a lot of fuel. Again, a lot of editing there. Well, I wasn't there for ages, but 10-15 minutes of messing around. Like I said, I knew I could fling a loaf over and just tow myself over anyway, but for my own kind of curiosity, and because I'm making a video on it, as I said, I want to find out, objectively speaking, how bad it is. It's like that roadblock bit that was in the Tatra factory as well, on factory grounds. That was really awkward. It was just like there was loads of invisible hitboxes that would just hook you on there, and like it was pretty terrible. And yeah, these ones I definitely wouldn't say are great as far as roadblocks go. That one on yeah, Antonovsky or something, that was not bad. That's more how they should be. Especially if you're talking like the biggest, best trucks in the game. I could see it if you took something, no offence to it, but like the Fleet Star, some early game truck. Oh, it reminds me actually, I'll say it now, otherwise I'll never remember. I went and grabbed an upgrade off this map that was sat on an island that's like at the bottom of the map, and there's just like a little island on its own, and there was an upgrade on it, and I grabbed it, and it was raised suspension, and it said it was for the International Transstar 4070 or something. And I was trying to think, I believe the International Transstar is the highway truck, so yeah, I believe that. To be honest, I completely forgot to go and check or anything, and I'll leave it for another video, otherwise I'll only add more footage into this one. But yeah, I did grab it. It's not for... There is an upgrade for... Oh yeah, the Derry Longhorn as well. I assume that's probably going to be on the Yellowstone, or Yellow Brick Road map, whatever the hell it's called. For a better engine, but it's not the twin steer engine, I don't believe. But it goes up a couple of notches on the power, so we'll see when I get that unlocked. I'll most likely do another review on the Derry as well if the engine officially helps to some degree. Yeah, back to this though. Got to like this middle section with this boggy bit. It doesn't bother me because it's just a little boggy patch. It's not like it's the main theme of the entire map. But yeah, as you could see there, it's just one of them. Take it or leave it. Just squeeze the throttle, look around your living room while you're driving 2 miles an hour, and that's about it. There's no difficulty to it. It's just slow. But yeah, we got there in the end, got up to the forester. I was getting it fixed up now, and this is kind of like, I've done this before in other missions, I've done it on the live stream as well. Fix it first before you refuel it, because if you refuel it and the fuel tank's broke, it'll just keep leaking the fuel. And I did that once, ages ago, probably like over a year ago. And I had like 6 fuel to spare, and I leaked out X amount. And yeah, it cost. I had to go and bring another vehicle. I think that was before I used to know the magic of the loaf. Long story short, I double-clicked the fuel, and it kind of completed the mission. And then I clicked X to get rid of the mission box. Thankfully, I just quickly saved the footage, quit the game, reloaded it, and it loaded me back up just before I was back at the Forester. So yeah, got it fixed again. The van repair body just did it in one fat hit. I was transferring all the fuel from a few different vehicles to get it completed, because I was planning on taking the fuel straight back in 30 seconds. Yeah, the mission, you don't really get a lot of money or anything like that, but I'm not bothered about the money. You get this forester. That was kind of the point of it. Goddamn phone. Sorry, that's my phone again. Why does it do it every time? But yeah, anyway, we get this thing and it's worth like quite a lot of dough, so plus it's, yeah, free vehicle, not really going to complain. Yeah, I put all the fuel back in because when I recover this to the garage, it's not going to fix it up or refuel it, so I'm just going to take it to a different region anyway, just to see what the actual truck looks like, because you can see it's all smashed up there. I wanted to see what options I can add on it and all sorts, so I took it to Drownlands, put the top engine in, all the rest of it. The log carrier on the back, I put the medium one on, so that you can see at the back it's extended it like an extra little cradle thing stuck on the back. It's got the old style sort of mudrunner crane to it, but it seems smaller. I don't think it's like the one, what's that mod called? The Mustang pack. The crane on that's like got bigger jaws and all the rest of it, I think, but still, this is like, it seems alright so far, so I just went for a little drive. This is just a little minute or two's footage of the actual Forester itself. First impressions, it's not too bad to be honest. It's articulated, which I'm always a little bit kind of meh with them, more because like when you're on awkward hills and stuff, the articulation can't fight against gravity that well, so if you're leaning to the right and you want to turn left up a hill, it's like your articulation's always trying to tip to the right to sort of tip downhill, so it's awkward situations when it really doesn't help. But so far it's been feeling alright. It's got, well, it's funny, it sounds like a bit old and all the rest of it. When you look in the cab, it's got like an iPad for a rev counter and all the rest of it. It seems I don't know, I imagine it more having an old school rev counter and all the rest of it. Yeah, you can hear the engine noises as well going a little bit. This pace is not too bad, all things considered. It's got the advanced special gearbox, the advanced special gearbox, which normally isn't that fast. I quite like the advanced special gearbox overall in some of the bigger trucks. But yeah, for 52-inch tyres as well, it was still keeping a decent pace. So I just thought I'd drive along here. This is Drownlands. You can tell I've been here before. You can tell it's my original playthrough. These are still all the cargo containers from when I was doing the runs in the ANK. That reminds me as well, I've got the ANK civilian version or whatever it is. I've had a little go in it. I quite like it. First impressions are pretty good with that as well, so I'll get a review done in the next day or two on that. And this one as well. I'll probably do the ANK first, I reckon, but yeah, I just wanted to get like a video on the location and getting this thing in the bag. You could see there as well, it stalled on me going up the hill in high gear, which is like fair enough because it is a bit of an awkward hill. But when I put it into normal gear, it didn't have the power to go up until I put it into low range with the diffs on. And I purposely went sideways down that hill trying to push my luck there. Apologies, it glitched. I've had a few glitches tonight that were just in the worst possible spots. But I pushed it about as far as you could go. It tipped enough to unpack the logs. I did fling a panic winch out, but it was only onto a tree that could kind of pop out the ground. But yeah, it's not bad for tipping, because I was kind of taking the piss quite a bit there. And climbing up there, I still left it in low range, diffs on and all the rest of it. That's pretty decent. So overall, I'm certainly not writing it off. There's a few things, like the steering is delayed, and it does that thing where once you've turned left, for example, if you go to put a bit of left-hand steering in again, it'll turn right first, like it'll feed the opposite lock-in. I rolled it on purpose there, I just wanted to have a look underneath the vehicle. It says it's all-wheel drive, unless there's some serious gears and mechanisms in them axle stalk things, then I don't know. Maybe there could be, but don't look like it'd handle it too well. Yeah, so this was just a little bit of messing around. I came back to this little rock section. To be honest, I was just driving around with this thing, giving it a little test. I was seeing if the articulation of it could kind of wiggle and jiggle its way up and over the rocks. You can see the loaf in the distance. I left that there. When I went and rescued the Forester, I stripped all the fuel and everything off that loaf, put it into the Zix and the white loaf, and then I set off on my way. So right now, I even said to myself, oh, maybe I should bang a little bit of fuel back in this loaf, otherwise it's just kind of stranded there. So now I had to get this loaf over there with no fuel. And you see again, this is just one more reason to get yourself a loaf. When I let the handbrake off now and it started rolling backwards, I was like, oh yes. Don't know why, this vehicle is just so good. Everything I've ever imagined, like, I wonder if I could do this with the Loaf. It just does it. And like so, we're still on a 100% rescue record. And I push my luck with it these days, to be quite frank. So, he made it, because he's a beast. Somehow got there without fuel. Stole 20 fuel off the... well, stole. Was awarded 20 fuel off the Forester. It's doing the exact same thing again. It was like, it won't drive when I'm pulling the winch and blah blah blah. So I quickly gave up on that, just switched to the bloody Forester. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention as well, the crane's leaning out over the front of me. I was just seeing if like adding more weight kind of over the front of my vehicle. Again, that's why if I often put a Loaf on the roof of the vehicle, it does help for that. It did feel like it helped a little bit having the weight sticking out over the front, but again, these rocks just, I don't know, they're not drive over friendly. It's definitely one of them that if the Zix was struggling as well, I should imagine most vehicles are. It's more, as you can see there, it's wheel grip, like just being able to bite onto the actual edges that the game has coded into them. And yeah, it's sort of, I don't know, I don't think power's necessarily the issue. Although I do still feel like they have knocked it back a few %. But again, I don't know, I wouldn't hold my breath, but I'm hoping that that's just a little bug or something from the update. But you see, yet again, the Loaf, he got me over, even without fuel. He somehow managed to non-fuel crawl his way over and save the day. I suppose now I'm near enough back where I was originally going to rescue this thing. I just, like I said, it was a little bit of footage I was leaving in. I'll have a quick play with the crane in a second. And yeah, you can do short logs and medium logs with this, which is pretty cool. There's nothing, I don't believe anyway, for long logs. I'm pretty certain there isn't. There's not like the front long log cradle or anything. Yeah, there's a little look at it though. One thing I do think is quite cool with the crane, not that I'm going to be using it a hell of a lot, but as you see, as I move the crane left, the cab is rotating with me. I'm not keeping them in line or anything, it's just as I move the crane, the cab follows the crane, which I quite like, to be honest. I think that's a pretty cool idea. It feels like quite a good execution of it. I've not actually lifted logs and all the rest of it, as you can see. I can still move my camera and my head round independent of the crane, but just the fact that it follows you, I just think it's a pretty good idea. And then when you back out the crane, you can see the cab light rotates just back to facing forward. Get back in the crane, the cab will just spin round. You can actually make the cab spin 360. I was putting the crane above the cab's head and doing it in circles, and it'll just keep going like the Exorcist head. Not that that's probably much use to anyone, but it was to me. I made its head rotate about 10 times before I got bored. So yeah, there's just a little route of like from the garage to where the Forester is. It's not even that far to go. What's it called? The hell? The Aramatsu Forester. Sounds like a Japanese toaster, or I don't know how you say thanks for a blowjob. Yeah, ANK Civilian. I'll be driving that one pretty soon. I've had a little go in it. It's pretty cool, to be honest. It doesn't tip anything as bad as the ANK, so I quite like it. It's the only thing I would change is the custom muds are just, they're not grippy enough. But apart from that, it's, yeah, not too bad. And then lastly, just before I go, because I couldn't help myself, well, this was when I started tonight. I needed to go and find the Forester just to select the Abandoned Titan mission. So the only way to do a big fat jump, send in the Loaf. And then, yeah, took a pretty hard landing though. You can see, his little wheels lean over. If you don't start, you ain't turning the key hard enough. Fires up like a good one. Fling a winch out, and we're good to go. I didn't worry about the suspension, because the Loaf drives just fine without suspension. But then I noticed my fuel thing was leaking, and I could fix it, because I've got a big fat juicy roof rack, but yeah, going to the garage doesn't refresh your roof rack on here, so I was like, kind of just, because I like jumping Loafs off cliffs as well. It's like a lemon. Yeah, I saved the footage, quit the game, reloaded, and my Loaf was back at the top. So I got to have one last little jump off. Flies like a beauty, lands, but takes it a lot better this time because he's learnt the error of his ways. And we get a goddamn glitch again. Sons of glitches. But yeah, fortunately, you see, he rescued himself. He's a goddamn professional. But yeah, that's about it for today. I hope that helps. I hope you enjoyed. Thanks for watching. Get yourself a loaf. Get yourself a Japanese blowjob toaster. And yeah, I'll be back soon.